Ever feel like you're stuck in a relationship Groundhog Day?
Mm.
You know that same argument with your partner that keeps replaying on repeat?
Yeah.
Today we're diving into a technique that not only aims to hit stop on that broken record,
Okay.
but actually uses those conflicts to strengthen your bond.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So it's fascinating how often we get caught up in the surface tension, like whose turn it is to do the dishes,
Right.
without realizing we're both dancing around deeper, unhealed wounds.
It's like that saying, you're not yelling at me, you're yelling at your mother.
Right.
Except hopefully less about our mothers and more about understanding this thing called reciprocal wounding.
Yeah.
What is that exactly?
It's a pattern where, in an attempt to get our own needs met, we end up unintentionally triggering each other's vulnerabilities.
Okay.
Our source uses this example of Christopher and Sarah.
Under stress, she would criticize.
Mm-hmm.
But what she really craved was comfort and reassurance.
Which, let's be real, is not what most people would guess when someone's on edge, especially in the heat of the moment.
Exactly. And of course, Christopher, like many of us, hears the criticism and reacts defensively,
Yeah.
which just reinforces Sarah's feeling of not being heard or supported.
Oh, wow.
It becomes this painful loop.
It's easy to see how this could leave both people feeling trapped and misunderstood. So where do we even begin to break free? So we've got this reciprocal wounding thing happening, which honestly sounds a little too familiar.
Yeah.
But the good news is our sources point to a way out of that tangled mess with something called the Trapdoor Technique.
Mm-hmm.
What is that all about?
Well, the Trapdoor Technique gives us a way to navigate these difficult emotions.
And actually use them to deepen our understanding of ourselves and our partners.
Okay.
It's a 6-step process, and each step helps us untangle those knots and create a more connected and fulfilling relationship.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Walk us through it. What's the first step?
The first step is deceptively simple.
All right.
It's all about acknowledging the feeling that's right there on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Name it to tame it, as they say.
Right.
Are you feeling angry, hurt, dismissed?
Yeah.
Giving that feeling a name takes away some of its power.
So if you go back to the example of Sarah, instead of lashing out, she might say, hey, I'm feeling really stressed and overwhelmed.
Exactly. Now, step 2 is where we start to dig a little deeper.
Okay.
This is where we look for the trapdoor.
Okay, now you've got my attention. How do we find this emotional trapdoor?
Think of it like this. You're in an old dusty house, and you notice a slight breeze.
Okay.
You realize there must be a draft, a hidden opening leading to somewhere else. Emotionally, it's the same thing.
All right.
You're looking for that subtle cue, that feeling of, wait, this feels familiar. It might be a word your partner used, their tone of voice, or even a fleeting memory that gets triggered.
So it's not just about the argument in that moment. It's about recognizing that this might be tapping into something deeper and older.
Precisely. Let's say your partner dismisses your idea for a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
The trapdoor might not be the vacation itself, but a past experience where you felt unheard or unsupported in your desires.
That makes so much sense. Like our past experiences leave these little emotional tripwires that can get triggered when we least expect it. So once you've found the trapdoor, what then? Do you just peek in?
You do more than peek. Step 3 is about stepping through that trapdoor, about gently exploring those deeper emotional layers.
Okay.
You ask yourself, what's the feeling beneath this feeling? And then you go further, and what's beneath that? It's about approaching these layers with curiosity and a compassion, not judgment.
So it's a process, a journey of self-discovery, not a quick fix. Have I got that right?
You've got it. And what's so powerful about this technique is that it's not just about identifying the wound, it's about transforming it.
Okay.
Which brings us to step 4. This is where it gets really interesting. Step 4 is about receiving a message from that deeper place of peace and clarity.
A message, you mean like a sudden aha moment about all our relationship woes?
It can be like that, but more often it's a subtler shift. A feeling of understanding washing over you, a new perspective on the situation, even a wave of peace in the midst of the storm. The key is to simply be present with whatever arises when you've accessed that calmer part of yourself.
Okay, so you found the trapdoor, ventured down to this calmer place, and received some deep insight.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, as much as we might like to just set up camp in that peaceful state, there's still work to be done.
Right.
Step 5 is about gently bringing that positive energy back up with you redecorating each emotional layer as you retrace your steps.
So you're not just gaining insight, you're actually changing the emotional landscape.
I like it.
Yeah.
Exactly. As you move back up through those layers, you carry that deeper understanding, that sense of peace, infusing it into each level of the experience. By the time you arrive back to the surface, to that initial trigger of anger or hurt, it has been transformed by the journey.
That's really powerful. It makes those difficult feelings less like landmines and more like stepping stones to a stronger relationship.
Yes. And that's where step 6 comes in, exiting the exercise.
Okay.
Take a moment to ground yourself, to acknowledge the shifts you feel, and to consciously create a separation from the experience.
So you don't accidentally slip back down the trapdoor.
Precisely. You want to integrate those insights and then step forward with a fresh perspective. And here's where the real magic happens. The trapdoor technique isn't just an individual exercise. It has the power to radically transform how we connect with our partners.
That's what I find so fascinating.
Mm.
It's not about avoiding arguments. It's about using them as opportunities to build a stronger foundation. Our source actually talks about how this technique can help us understand empathy in a whole new light, right?
Absolutely. The source emphasizes that true empathy isn't just about understanding your partner's feelings. It's also about recognizing how your own trapdoors, your own past wounds might be influencing how you react to them.
Right.
When you start to see those patterns, it's like the blame game just dissolves, and you can approach each other with so much more compassion and understanding.
It's like you're not just witnessing each other's struggles. You're actively participating in the healing process together.
Exactly. And that shared experience, that willingness to be vulnerable and support each other through those emotional depths can create an incredibly powerful bond. It's no longer about winning the argument. It's about understanding each other on a deeper level.
Which, let's be real, is way more rewarding than getting the last word about the dishwasher. For anyone listening who's feeling stuck in those same old relationship patterns, I think the trapdoor technique is definitely worth exploring. It's not always easy to face those deeper emotions, but the rewards can be life-changing.
And sometimes those challenging emotional experiences are the very things that hold the key to our greatest growth, both individually and in our relationships.
What a great takeaway for our listeners to ponder. Think about it. What recurring conflict in your life might benefit from a little deep dive of its own? Until next time, happy exploring.